Hello, everybody, and welcome to Radio Dead Air Tech Q&A. You've got questions, we've got guesses. I'm Nash. I've been doing Radio Dead Air for ages, but I'm also an IT professional. With me, as always, my producer Mike Gearman, who also works in IT. Please send us your questions. We will help you out with those. We've got some news stories, and I'm about done with everything. I made a very bad mistake when I decided to upgrade my system. And that mistake was to get an Asus motherboard. I have an Asus X670E Pro Wi-Fi. I think it's what's so many freaking names for them. This thing has been nothing but trouble from the start. Well, first of all, I didn't get this one. I actually got the X670E Strix A. And that one straight up died on me. So I went to return it, but they didn't have that one in stock. So I'm like, fine.
I'll send you the one you have instead.
Right. So I said, fine, I'll get the other one. I have that one. That one was nothing but problems for ages. But then it finally crapped out, so I RMA'd it. I'm on my third Asus motherboard right now. And this one, whenever I have Precision Boost Overdrive on my 7900X, Ryzen 7900X, whenever I have Precision Boost Overdrive on, it starts getting weird. And I get lockups, and sometimes it won't boot properly, and I get like error codes, which I have to say, I'm on a roll here. Give me a second. I hate the current way motherboards are going, because it used to be we'd have these little digital readouts that were built into the motherboard, 7 segments, what they called. They, two little zeros. They like they're like the old time digital clocks. What they were for is they would give you an error code whenever there was a problem with the motherboard, and it would tell you exactly what the issue was, so you could look it up and figure out how to fix it. But with this what started with like the Z690 and the AM5 era, they decided they were going to make that a premium feature. So now you have to buy like a $400, $500 fucking motherboard to get that. What do I have? I got like 4 little lights. One of them says CPU, one's RAM, one's video, and one's boot. And whenever one lights up, you just kind of have to guess. They suck. And this thing is just, so sometimes it'll reboot and the CPU light will come on and stay on, which could be any manner of issues. Usually I found if I just switch it down to eco mode and run the 9700 at 105 watts, everything's fine. I'm going to try and I'm going to see if there's a new BIOS tomorrow, and maybe by some miracle it will fix it, because there will be a new Agisa, because I haven't updated for the 9000 series yet. But hi, sorry, Mike. I just sort of went off on a...
It happens.
And then we had raccoons, and then one of the cats got out. So
all I did today was give blood and then make spaghetti. So
hopefully not together.
No. The heart, yeah, I understand.
Separate, yeah.
Not that kind of red sauce. No.
Okay.
Completely different kind. This is in a jar.
So yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I've had nothing but trouble with Asus, the X600 series of Asus motherboards. Nothing but trouble. If I had the chance to go back and do it over again, I wish I could have got a Gigabyte, or because I have had Gigabyte motherboards for ages. Never had a problem with one. Do you know why I went with the Asus one this time?
It was cheaper?
It was white to match my case. Yeah, that's on me.
I'm not going to say it.
If I had the money, if I could afford it, because we've got so much shit going, if I could afford it, I would grab a gigabyte motherboard now, swap this one out, and put this one on eBay and let somebody else deal with the shit. Because, yeah, to match my case, yes. Because I figured, hey, what's the big deal difference one motherboard to another? Well, apparently one motherboard manufacturer can be completely fucking incompetent. And somehow it's not ASRock. They're actually making good shit now. I don't even understand. Which motherboard I replace it with?
You just linked this to me. The Gigabyte X870E Aorus Pro Ice, which is also a white motherboard to match your case.
Yes, but it is Gigabyte. See, Gigabyte didn't have a white one then. They do now.
That one was literally just released last month.
Yeah, because it's an 870E, which is essentially an X670E, but it just has USB 4. No, this one. It's 300. It's a bit. I will admit, my current motherboard was a little over $300 when I got it, but I figured, hey, I'm gonna have that motherboard for ages. Let's see here. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one I want to get. I figured, hey, I'm gonna have that motherboard forever. Why not just get one and be an investment? It turns out Asus is bad at their shit. I'm not gonna do that again. But I could probably get at least 200 or 250 or so putting this one on the internet, but I don't have. And also it would just, yeah,
well, you would also have the disadvantage of maybe the person who buys it comes back 3 months later and goes, you sold me a dud board.
It's not the board. It's the BIOS and it's Asus's shit. And by that time it'll be, it's not a dud board. It's just, Asus is bad at what they do. If someone wants to buy an Asus motherboard used, they're welcome to it. But the trouble is, I would have to have, let's see, $360 plus another $36 for tax. So I'd have to have almost $400 up front to get this damn thing. And then I'd have to put this one on eBay and try to recoup the cost of it. So remember when motherboard was like $100? Under $100.
Yep.
Shit was easy. I don't know what the manufacturers are smoking this generation. They did not get this expensive to make. That's for damn sure. Anyway, rant over. So anyway, we've got some stories. We're taking your tech questions. We've got some already. We'll be answering those in a bit. First up, of course, news-wise this week, the one that is on everyone's talking about, because of course everyone's talking about it. Intel finally released the Core Ultra 9 200 series. I guess that's what we're calling them, the 200 series or something.
Yes. And I have a response to their release. And my response is,
like when Intel, about a week back, Intel gave out the basic specs on these and what to expect from them. And even then, they were kind of lowballing it.
And it was a spec that last week, because we did the story about that last week, and it was like,
yeah.
Its power's a lot better, but
They were lowering expectations. Well, it turns out even those lowered expectations were a little too high. Now, on the plus side, I have to stress, this is not like Bulldozer again.
No.
To reiterate, years ago, AMD followed up their very popular Phenom series of CPUs with a reorganized, reconfigured architecture they called Bulldozer. And it was going to be revolutionary and so much faster because they had this idea that each core could share a floating point unit. And it would be fine. And they would get more efficiency out of it, and they could make them for cheaper, and it'd be great. Except Windows was like, the hell is this?
Yeah.
What am I doing with this?
It was the kind of thing, if they talked to Microsoft ahead of time and gotten the code written to handle it ahead of time, it might not have been the thing that almost killed AMD.
The trouble was, even with that, even with years of fixes, even today, if you try to use a bulldozer or a pile driver era CPU, they're garbage. They really are garbage.
Yeah.
That shared floating point unit thing just did not work out. And they ended up with CPUs that were slower than their previous releases. Now, that is kind of what has happened to Intel here, but it's not because they did something stupid. Intel has been for years behind AMD, and the only thing they could do, the only card they could play to compete, because they did not have chiplet designs ready yet, and AMD was yards ahead of them with the chiplets. All they could do was take their current monolithic designs and just throw more electricity into them, literally to the breaking point, which is what happened.
Which we've done multiple stories on.
Yeah. That's what happened to 13th and 14th gen. So this generation, Arrow Lake is a necessary re-architectural or new architectural design. They had to do this because there was...
And instead of calling it chiplets, they called it tiles.
Yeah. And actually their design is a little bit different, which to their credit, it's a little... They actually have an interesting version of the chiplet thing, so it works. The only trouble here is they had two options. They could keep going down the more power road, which was a dead end, and it was already making their CPUs unstable. Or they could do this. They could re-architecture the CPUs and essentially start over. And in doing so, they have come up with a CPU that is way more power efficient than the previous CPUs. It compared to 13th, 14th gen, even compared to 12th gen. These are more power efficient. They do more work for less electricity.
The problem is they don't do that much more work, but it is a lot less electricity.
Yeah, they might have more power efficiency, but in terms of performance overall, not great. In fact, in gaming...
I will give them one good point here. So while it is a complete redesign and a completely new socket, which means if you want one of these, you need a new motherboard, the physical layout of the chip externally is the same. The processor package is the same size. So you can use your same cooler.
That is one nice thing. But
so that is a small cost savings you will have if you switch to this.
The trouble is, while they are more efficient, Gamers Nexus, just a side note, normally you can test how much power a CPU is pulling by using the 8-pin EPS connectors next to the CPU. That's where it draws power from. They're one or two special plugs just from the power supply to the motherboard. Well, because these are so complicated and because they're trying to limit the distance between the M.2 slots and the DIMM slots to the CPU, because distance equals latency. The closer the components are together and the closer the traces are on the circuit board, the less latency. They had to cut through some of where the other connections would be. So now part of the power, due to the way more of it's coming off the 24-pin connector than the 8-pin. So everybody who's testing the power on these had to come up with ridiculous lengths to see how much power this thing was actually freaking drawing. Even with all that, Gamers Nexus came up with, while these are more efficient compared to 13th and 14th gen, they are not more efficient compared to AMD, particularly even the 7000 series, which is approaching 2 years old now.
Now, that said, I will give them the the slight benefit of the doubt here in that this is their first generation of this chiplet tile design.
Yeah.
It can get better from here and probably will. So the second generation of this will be hopefully at least as power efficient, maybe more. They go, hey, what if we did it this way? And they go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And obviously, slightly more power, at least slightly more powerful.
At least slightly. But it's, as it stands right now, and the other problem is the price. The 9285 has a suggested retail price of $630.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the 7800X3D, cheaper at this, faster at gaming. The 7950X, cheaper than this, about the same speed in production tasks. The 7950X3D, faster in gaming, closer in production tasks, also cheap, about the same price. It's even, and to make it matters worse, the 14900K, faster in gaming, cheaper than this. The 13900K,
I will say faster in gaming, dependent on games. There was a couple games where this edged it out, but yeah.
It depends on how the games worked. So sometimes this was a little bit faster. It's the same story down the stack. Intel had a choice to make here, and that choice was the same thing that AMD did when they had their makeup year, which was the first generation of Ryzen. AMD understood that first gen Ryzen was not as fast as what Intel had to offer. So what they did was they sold those for cutthroat prices. That first generation of Ryzen, everybody's like, well, it has some issues, but damn, the price is great. And comparatively, for the performance you were getting, the price was worth it. Mm-hmm. So that was how AMD offset, and they got back market share vastly by competing on price. Intel here is pretending like they're still Intel. And they're not right now. They are cutting jobs. They're talking about selling their fabs entirely. They're being eyed by other companies for a buyout. Probably a hostile one at that. They're not Intel anymore. If they want to be Intel again, these had to be much fucking cheaper. And as it occurs to me that when we saw the AMD's Ryzen 9000 series came out and everybody went, wow, this is a flop. They're not much faster in the 7000 series. They're a little more power efficient. That's it. I'm willing to bet the only reason AMD was willing to release those CPUs is because they knew this was coming. And you'll know even the 9000 series are cheaper than this. So AMD is still competing on price. They have the fastest gaming CPU in the world still. Even the 5800X3D, which is not long for the world, we'll talk. Yeah, we talked about that. Even then, it's still more of a contender than these are. So, yeah, it's. If I had a choice, I would rather be AMD right now than Intel. Even with all the bad press about the 9000 series, I would still rather be AMD. We'll see what happens, but yeah, probably next generation of this, which is probably at least a year away. We'll see how Intel holds on. It's good they did this. Technologically, you can appreciate the advances they made, the energy efficiency, but from a business perspective, Intel is in trouble. And they did not need a take it or leave it CPU. They needed something people would be willing to buy. Had they cut the prices to be commensurate with the performance you were getting, people would have bought these. But the main problem here is they're too expensive for what they offer. And if that isn't corrected, then Intel isn't going to sell shit. So they're going to have to decide, are we going to sell for less or are we not going to sell fucking anything? All right. Speaking of, remember one of the people who were thinking about buying Intel, the rumor was Qualcomm. Remember that?
Yeah, indeed.
Qualcomm's got problems.
Qualcomm getting sued.
Oh, more than sued. All right. How it works is Qualcomm is mostly known for making ARM processors. ARM processors are the architecture that you find in laptops, in cell phones. Apple recently started using it in their MacBooks and their Macs and in their Mac Pro and all that. And Qualcomm, with their Snapdragon X, has started using it for Windows laptops, Windows on ARM. But ARM does not belong to any one manufacturer. ARM is actually the product of a company that licenses the architecture and allows companies to pay license fees to them to access ARM technology. What happened here was Qualcomm purchased a company called Nuvia. And Nuvia had a license with ARM for a specific thing. And that's the basis of the Snapdragon X, is the technology that Nuvia was working on. The trouble is ARM licenses are non-transferable. A company cannot you can't buy a company and acquire their ARM license. If you buy a company and you want to use that technology, you need a new ARM license. Qualcomm refused to get a new license.
Yeah. Or at least, okay, so that's what ARM is saying. Qualcomm is saying, no, we're good because of reasons they haven't detailed yet.
They think that Qualcomm was of the opinion they could sue their way out of it. Well, the trouble is ARM, the lawsuit is coming, and ARM has given Qualcomm 60 days to pay for a new license, or the Snapdragon X Elite CPUs, which everyone is betting big on. Lenovo, Dell, Microsoft with their, the Windows on ARM. Everybody is betting big on this to be the next thing for laptops.
Yeah, and it could well be.
And if ARM yanks the license, no one will be allowed to sell those laptops. They will effectively kill it in its tracks. So that puts a lot of pressure on Qualcomm right now. There was fucking around. Now there is finding out.
Indeed.
I'm pretty sure if I was any of the manufacturers that are relying on Qualcomm, I would be pushing them to come to an arrangement here with ARM, because otherwise everyone's up in the air, like to a ridiculous extent. Yeah, this is not good for a lot of reasons. So stupid. So fucking stupid. Like, why would Qualcomm even try to pull this shit? Is what I don't understand.
My guess is that they thought they were big enough to get away with it, and or the contract. Well, ARM is saying the licenses are non-transferable. Maybe there's something in the contract that reads iffy. Now, they should have had good enough lawyers on both sides of ARM and Nuvia, who had the original licenses, to not have that sort of iffy thing in there. But Qualcomm saying, no, we're within our rights, we can do this, makes me think that there's at least something that they can point to that, were it to get in front of a jury, has a chance of going the other way.
It's a hell of a chance to take when you're on the precipice of, like, Microsoft again is betting huge on Windows on ARM, because the power savings for an ARM CPU cannot be understated. Even one that's powerful enough to run Windows, or a version of Windows that's been compiled for ARM CPU. Understand that the Windows you're running on your standard desktop or laptop right now won't run on these. They have to have a special version of it that's compiled for ARM. And also regular apps won't run on it. They have to have apps compiled for ARM. But the fact is, these can be made much more cheaply than Intel and AMD. They're much more power efficient. And the kind of customers that just want this for apps and not games,
or for your average office user,
this is a big deal. There's a lot, because they can make these things cheap, they can make them fast, and they can make them perfect for people who don't have, for a set task, for a large percentage of customers who need a certain task set. This is a big deal. And if Qualcomm fucks it up, it's going to be amazing. Just, that is going to be like, wow, you dipshits. Oh my God. Speaking of you dipshits, here's a funny thing. A report came out from a Google engineer who's noting that, you know, all those AI companies who are buying up thousands upon thousands of NVIDIA AI GPU accelerators.
Yes, indeed, I do know of those companies.
And those cards, by the way, those GPU accelerators for AI, they cost $60,000 each or more. We don't know how much the Blackwell version is going to cost. We have the Ada version, we have the Haswell version. We don't have the Blackwell version yet, so we don't know how much that's going to cost. It could be probably it's going to be much more expensive, because Jensen Huang does not give a shit. He just wants money. So you buy a rack of those, that's like $7 million per rack. And each company has like dozens of these racks. We're talking billions of dollars in NVIDIA sales. Well, It turns out they're not all that resilient. And
shocking.
These very expensive GPU accelerators have a potential lifespan of about 3 years.
So there's this thing in technology called planned obsolescence. And it's the thing where, hey, we're going to replace this. The expected, this is, I'm going to use light bulbs. Light bulbs, people expect them to break. Maybe not so much with the LED bulbs anymore, but you expect burnout, you expect occasional loss, and they go, why should we make them? This is a big thing when it was before LED light bulbs. Why should we make them last 10 years, which they could do, when we could make them last 3 or 4 years, which is reasonable for most people, and just sell a whole bunch more? And part of me thinks that NVIDIA is aware of the amount of power and degradation and wear and tear on these cards that would happen if they built them a certain way. And then they said, or we could build them this other way and they'll last 6 years. And someone said, if we have them last 3 years, they have to buy new ones every 3 years until the AI bubble finally bursts. So we'll get 2-3 cycles out of it.
Typically with office equipment, not even home user gaming, that sort of equipment. With office equipment, typically the expected lifespan of a device is about 6 years. That's expecting hardware and tear. That's expecting it to go through, constant use. 6 years is considered a good, reasonable lifespan for a server that's put under a lot of strain on a given day, or something mission critical stuff.
And also 6 years is not unreasonable to go, hey, the servers are now a little pokey. Let's see if we can get some budget in there to upgrade things so the users stop complaining.
And also, typically, those servers, that other hardware, just a regular data center machine, is a magnitude cheaper
Indeed.
than any of these cards.
And so when you're doing the budget numbers and you're saying, if we spend this much on a server with this much storage and what have you, and we're having this kind of income, that's a tiny percentage relatively of the server. So it makes sense. Oh, and we can replace that every 6-7 years, whatever. And it still is a tiny percentage of the budget. So that makes sense. Now, not all bean counters think this way. Some go, oh my God, why are you trying to get money out of me? What's wrong with you? But in this case, the amount of money that profit that AI has made can be found on my desk here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It can't because I have a $5 bill on this desk.
Hold on. I've got it right here. That's how much. So that's one problem. If you are actually making money from the hardware, even with my stupid shit here, technically I am making money off what I work with my computer. That's why it's a reasonable expense,
We don't do AI bullshit here, though.
We don't do it. But I can look at that and go, okay, this is how much money I'm going to make over time. I'm going to have this thing for 5-6 years.
And you cost it out. You can, and if you're a business, you can go depreciation. And what's going to happen with these is they'll go, oh, massive amount of depreciation. And it might also trigger the IRS to go, well, wait a second. You ain't making money and who hurt you? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. We're talking machines that each of them cost a staggering amount of money, all of them going dead within 3 years, having to be replaced. And the companies, OpenAI and Microsoft and Google, they have already spent billions of dollars on these servers. They expected these would last, for 6 years or so. They were going to buy upgrades as time goes on, but they have these. These didn't stop working. These could be added to the overall horsepower of what they were trying to do. If they start burning out, and if they have to buy new ones, and the new ones are more expensive, like Blackwell is going to be more expensive, where the fuck is the profit for any of this shit coming from? OpenAI has already gone through a new round of funding.
Yeah.
They already, was it $5 billion they needed?
Yeah. Keep in mind, we're expecting this bubble. Nash and I are expecting, a lot of people are expecting this bubble to burst sooner rather than later. And I've said it here. My expectation is when this bubble bursts, there's going to be people that go to jail because of claims that they made that they knew were BS, that people who had stock in these companies are going like, somebody owes me money. And if I don't get money, I'm going to get jail time from someone.
And we were also, a lot of companies have gone, well, even if the AI bubble bursts, you still have all these computers that will be data center power. So there'll be a use for them. Well, no, there won't, because these things are designed not good. And if you don't believe me, the reason Blackwell has been delayed is Jensen Huang even came out and said, we had an engineering fault. We had to redesign it. They aren't exactly, I feel like NVIDIA is playing a little loose and fast here because they can. Because look at all the money that's been dumped in their lap. They can quite literally take it and run.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. This is not going anywhere. We are all of us watching the train approaching the side of a mountain, and we are going up to the conductor and we're saying, hey, that's a mountain. Can you slow down or stop?
That's okay. That's a tunnel there. And you go, that's a tunnel that was painted on by Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah. AI bubble bursting will destroy the current tech. Well, the tech industry has been, I don't want to get too much on this. We do want to get your questions. The tech industry has pretty much been destroyed after the iPhone. The first thing that ruined it was the app bubble. Everything became an app, and tons of money was thrown. Remember
including things that didn't need to be an app.
Remember when Instagram was sold for $1 billion? We're all like, what the fuck? And then Twitter was 40 something billion. Anyway, the app bubble happened.
He was on ketamine when he did that.
Yeah. The app bubble and crypto and all of these and NFTs, all of this, the way after the iPhone, the way the tech industry, they kept wanting a new iPhone thing that everyone would throw their money into, and the returns would come in and it would just shower money on them. And it stopped being about creating tech and more about creating that moment where they would get money showered on them. They didn't really care what would come out of it, which is why we have the Internet Archive being taken offline by a DDoS caused by the Internet of Shit, because of these cheap, badly secured devices that are meant to be thrown away, that are, turned into a bot network that destroy shit, because that's the kind of stuff we're turning out. The tech industry is already wrecked. But what's going to happen? I don't know if it's going to be how this will affect normal people. I don't know. Lots of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot. The stock market's going to be a disaster. NASDAQ in particular. Dow might be fine, but NASDAQ is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a rough time. Just I don't know how we can't keep this up, and that's why right now learning how to fix your own shit is self-defense, because you did it. All right. That having been said, let's talk about your tech questions. Let's see what we have this week so far. Let's see if any new ones come in, by the way. Just let me look. Okay, we just have these three so far. All right. This is from Navigator BR. He writes, I have a buddy who needs to replace his 2017 Alienware 18-inch gaming laptop. He didn't have a more specific description, and I haven't seen the laptop. He's looking for a mid-range laptop that can handle gaming, ideally in the $800 to $1,000 range, but absolutely no more than $1,200. Games he plays, Satisfactory, Earth Defense Force 6, Deep Rock Galactic, Sea of Thieves. Those are not demanding games. Those are made, those are online multi kind of games. Yeah. Are there any brands you'd recommend or recommend staying away from? Well, we used to say Lenovo.
I still say Lenovo.
It's been enough time. Apparently, in Lenovo's favor is they haven't had any more of that software malware built-in nonsense anymore.
Or they've gotten really good at hiding it.
Or they have. And apparently, Lenovo laptops are some of the easiest to repair right now, especially their ThinkPads.
Let's be honest, that is a point in their favor, because laptop repair is always a pain. I had a laptop, let's get said here slightly. I had a laptop that basically hit the deck in one of our last earthquakes out here. This is a work laptop. The screen is the lid of the thing took a dent.
Right.
That transferred through and shattered the screen.
Oof.
The previous generations of this laptop, I would have just gone, well, I've got a couple laptops here that I'm going to be turning in as refreshed. I'll just take a screen from them and put it in there. Can't do that.
So that kind of makes Lenovo a bit of a contender, because gaming laptops get a lot of use, and if they need to be repaired, the easier that is, that means the cheaper the repair is going to be. So there's good there. Acer, yeah, that's one you brought up yourself. Acer Nitro 5. I saw one of their models that's actually on sale because it's using 13th gen. That's another thing. Well, all right, just overall tip stuff you're looking for here. Go back one or two CPU generations, because right now performance is a little stagnant.
Yeah.
So there's no real need to get the newest one, because they're about the same as the as far as AMD 7th generation, AMD Ryzen 7000 series, perfectly good. Intel 12th, 13th, and 14th, still perfectly good. I wouldn't go any further back than those. I wouldn't go like a 5000 series AMD or 11th gen Intel. 12th gen is as far back as I would go. And now 7000 series is far. Yeah.
One thing I'm going to say here. Well, everything Nash has said about the Lenovo Legion laptop line, Lenovo Legion. Yeah, is true. You're going to have to find used to keep under your budget because they don't have anything cheaper than $1,350.
Acer's pretty good though. I'm looking at one right here.
Yeah, Acer Nitro, on the other hand, you can get a pretty decent one for. Did I have this open? Yes, $850.
$800. The $850. I'm looking at one for $800.
Okay,
Best Buy.
I bet it's the same model, and Amazon's charging $50 more.
Yeah, Best Buy's got this one on clearance sale because it's 13th gen. Don't let that dissuade you. Just update the BIOS. I mean, laptop 13th gen has been behaving more than 14th gen because than desktop because they don't use as much power.
But you'll still want to make sure you do that BIOS update so it doesn't have that issue.
It's a 13th gen i7 RTX 4060, 512 gigabyte SSD, 16 gig DDR5. It is pretty middle of the road, and it will do everything your friend is looking to do. So that's not a bad buy there. And again, you're saving $300 because this was originally $1,100. And it's going for $300. You're saving $300 just because it's a little bit older.
It's going for $900. Going for $800.
$800. Yeah.
You said it's going for $300. If it was going for $300, right. I would grab one of those at $300.
Yeah. It's
just to have a spare laptop.
It was $1,100. It's going for $800, so it's $300 off. That's just because it's 1 or 2 generations older. And like we've been telling you here, the CPUs, they ain't getting no faster. There hasn't been a really good improvement. 14th gen was a little of an improvement over 13th gen. 13th gen was a pretty good improvement over 12th gen. And Ryzen 9000 is not really an improvement over Ryzen 7000. So we've hit this era where the CPU performance is kind of flat. There's some here or there, but it's fairly flat. Even Arrow Lake is not faster than 13th and 14th gen. So that is a good place to get some deals here, because when the time comes to upgrade, which will be another 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, maybe then things will actually be faster again. And the RTX 4060 built in, whatever gaming laptop, you're going to want to have some sort of discrete graphics card, Radeon or GeForce. You're going to have to make sure it has some kind of gaming card in it. The laptop 4060 is not bad. That's fairly entry level, but it should work for these games. Should be able to handle it 1080p, 30 to 60 frames per second, depending on how you adjust the settings. It should be just fine. Anything else I could tell you to look for on these? Refresh rate on the monitor that's built in, mainly because you can't change the monitor on these. So try to get as high a refresh rate, like 120 hertz, 144 hertz, as high as you can.
There is an Acer Nitro V model that has 144 hertz refresh rate. So, which is really impressive in a laptop.
Yeah, the reason you want to get something with that kind of refresh rate is you're going to be stuck with this. Now, of course, you could always see, show more specs. What do we got here? No, this is 144 for $800. That's nice. You can always, of course, plug in a monitor into it or whatnot. But why would you want to do that? You want a gaming laptop. So, yeah, anything less than 120 hertz on a laptop screen, it's not worth it, because you're going to be stuck with that screen for the life of the laptop. You want to make sure it can, if it's gaming, you want to make sure it can display as many frames as possible.
Now, if this was Office One, I'd say, cap out at 75, because Excel doesn't do.
Right. At that point, it is nice having a high refresh rate monitor, because it does make the visuals, and even just for desktop stuff, it makes it flow much more smoothly, which feels nicer. It's a nice feel to it. But for gaming, it's kind of essential. So, yeah, Lenovo Legion's pretty good. Lenovo Legion and the Acer Nitro, they're fine. I just the $800 deal, that is a good deal. So, yeah, you don't want. It is a good time for CPU stuff right now, because everything's stagnant, which is not great for the companies, and it's pretty good for consumers, because that means you could get something a little bit older and it's going to last way longer. Nothing's really going to take it out of contending. So, all right. Got another one here. This is from J.M. Shearer. This is, hey, dear Nash, Mike, and assorted floofs. With Windows 10 coming to end of life in the somewhat near future, I've come to realize I'm in rather dire need of a system refresh since I'm still using the one I got not long after Windows 10 was released. So to say it's showing its age is an understatement. Thing is, so much has changed over the years that I really have no idea what I need to look for even to make a modern equivalent of what I got now. What I'm looking for is a general use system, word processing, writing, browsing the internet, but trying to do more vlogging and video production and considering getting into streaming at some point in the future. With that in mind, I'm sure I'll have to replace the monitor and my camera as well, since both of those are going on a decade old too. I'm really not sure how much
the camera maybe not, because there hasn't been a huge amount of advancement in cameras, but it's possible.
I'm really not sure how much all that's going to cost me, but I don't have a terribly big budget to work with. I'm going to say somewhere in the area of $2,000 to start with, hoping I reuse the monitor list. All right, starting off, $2,000 is a lot. Okay, you're going to get a lot for $2,000. A lot. Keep in mind. All right, our tiers of our mid-grade build tiers for the holidays is about $1,200. Maybe we might have to increase it a little bit this year, but it's about $1,200. So $2,000 is a pretty good budget for a system, a monitor, camera. Depends on what kind of if you're thinking about a DSLR or mirrorless, you can probably find a good refurb camera for that if you want to. That's probably, if you need to replace that, if you're looking for like a 4K or something, that's probably a refurb is probably about $500 if that's what you're looking for. If you're talking about a webcam, you could probably wait on that. They have some really super nice ones for like $200, but you might not need something like super. Maybe more than I think. Reusing the monitor, you might want to get a new one. Now, the good news is you could find there are some deals on mini LED, and even I would stay away from OLED right now. If you're looking for an OLED monitor, the reason I say that is you were talking about using it for word processing, writing, and browsing the internet. The trouble with OLED monitors is they intend for constant motion. They are made to be used with video games and movies. The reason why is they have a high burn-in rate. Like if you're just using, like if you're browsing the internet, if you keep Windows open, if you keep like your browsing windows open or your word processing window open, that stays on screen a lot. And the way OLED works is that will burn out the LEDs over time, and you will get burn in on the screen. And it's going to, so for the mixed use kind of stuff, stay away from OLED. Mini LED is a good compromise. You get some of the contrast that you get with OLED, but it's at a lower price point, and it's also not the mini LED doesn't burn in. Only OLED burns in. So I'd stay away from that. So look for replace a roughly 8-year-old general purpose off-the-shelf computer. If you're not going for super high-end gaming, well, you're in luck. I would, for video production and whatnot, a good starting point would be Ryzen 7000 series. With an AM5 motherboard. You can probably find here's another place you can find a good deal. Do not get the 800 series motherboards. If you could find a deal on a 600 series motherboard, get one of those. And this again, off on a little tangent, this is frustrating. X670E and X870E, the difference is X870E is guaranteed to have USB 4. That's it. Otherwise, they are identical chipsets. And sometimes X670E will also have USB 4.
Now, your 870E might have more M.2 on board, but
yeah, it's honestly, to make it even worse, X870 is exactly the same as B650E. Exactly the same. Identical. So You could get your for what you're going to use. B650 is a good sweet spot there. That's about the 200 and under range for motherboards. B650E is kind of nice if you could find it. B650 will still do just fine. So even something like the $200 Ryzen 7600 will do you, considering you're coming from an 8-year-old system, you're talking about vlogging, video production, that will still scream. It will be hilariously fast compared to what you have right now. Unless you're particularly caring about gaming, I'd steer clear of the X3D models. Those are more specifically focused on gaming builds. Everything else is sort of an all-around CPU.
Now, if you're not going to build your own, and you're just going to buy off the shelf, I would look at stuff sold by Newegg, maybe Best Buy, but yeah.
Yeah, Newegg's in-house. What was that called? What is Newegg's in-house?
Is it Rosewell? I always forget.
That's their parts brand.
Is it Adamant their in-house?
Let's see. ABS. That's Newegg's. It's called ABS. ABS is probably a good. We've recommended them before. People in the channel who got them, and they're happy with getting them. They have ABS is their in-house. In fact, let me actually look here and see what we have. Let's see. Do we have a price range listed here, or
yeah, price range is listed on Newegg's site, but you got to scroll down for it. It's
okay, yeah, it's good.
Very close to the
bottom. Let's see. All right, let's go. I've got them ABS on the screen. I'm going to look here what they have. Oh, this is a nice. Okay. This is a nice starting point, and you could get bigger if you want, but this will do everything you're thinking of, and you can get more expensive, but just to give you an idea of where the starting point is here. This is the ABS Cyclone Ruby gaming PC, Ryzen 5 7600, RTX 4060, 1 terabyte NVMe hard drive, 32 gigs of RAM. That's $929. That's a good system. Just let's see. Let me look at a little bit more of the specs on it, because they tell you exactly what you get on it. It's got a B650M, so it's not. It's a smaller motherboard, but it's just fine. It's from Gigabyte, so that's fine. It will overclock. It will do all the stuff. This is a starting point here. Just to give you an idea of how much you can get for your money. If you really want to push it, have some left over for a good monitor. Let me jump up a bit here. Let's see. Wow, we got a little room here. Let's say about 1,500. Yeah, something like that. No, we are not. No Intel, please. No Intel. Because all they have are 12th, 13th, and 14th gen, and they had the stability issues. Can't trust them.
You may note on the screen there that some of these things say Newegg refresh. That is basically it's something that's been returned. It's been refurbed. They've certified it. They'll stand behind it.
Yeah. Let's see. Search within. I'm just going to put Ryzen in there so I can eliminate the Intel stuff just for on the sake of safe side. Yeah, okay. This is those are a little bit more pricey. This is pretty good though. This is a little bit beefier. If you want to go up to something like $1,400, they have a Ruby gaming PC with a Ryzen 7700X, 4070 Super, which is a really nice video card. Same RAM, same motherboard, but that's a nice little upgrade too. It's about the same system. So I'd say you go up to,
as is pointed out on the channel, Black Friday is happening, and Newegg historically has some fantastic deals.
They Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Yeah. So you'll find some deals on these too. But this gives you an idea of what you can get for your money. And for the money, this would be an 8-core 16 thread for the $1,400. You'd still have around 600 or so left to look at. You didn't mention, James, are you talking like a webcam or a DSLR for your camera replacement? Because you said video production. So, because you're talking to DSLR, you might want to just to make sure you might want to stick closer to the 7600, the $1,000 unit. That'll give you money to get a good refurbished DSLR. Like I'm using a refurbished DSLR. This is a D7500 from Nikon. Not the best, but this one I got for like 700 refurbed. And it does up to 4K if I wanted to. And there are some better models since then. Go to a webcam right now. Okay. Then 200. Yeah. 200 is the most you'll need to spend on a webcam, or even you'll want to spend, because they have like, Elgato has a good one around that area. Razer has one. I'd stay away from Razer. Their software is going to, Elgato is pretty good though. And that would leave you. So if you go with the $1,400 model, that gives you can spend a good bit on your webcam, and that'll give you another. That gives you about. All right, with tax, that's going to be about $1,450, maybe $1,500. That gives you $500 to look at a monitor and a webcam. And this should come with some not great mouse and keyboard. If you want great mouse and keyboard, you might want to set aside an extra $100 there. But this will come with a functional mouse and keyboard at the very least. So yeah, this will do you good. It's a good time for this stuff too. So, all righty, we got one more this week. Let's see what we have here. Didn't I use a Brio? Why was he didn't keep it? The Brio is okay, but it lacks a lot of the features that DSLR has, like clarity, depth of field. It's got a better sensor. Like just all 4K, all 1080p is not created equal. The more megapixel sensors on the camera, the better it works. Also, this one I can do more things with this than just the Brio. I could take this off of here and go record stuff elsewhere and then bring it back and put it. It's great. So yeah, I prefer the DSLR, but the Elgato, back when I got this, there wasn't a good option like the Elgato Facecam 2. That's a really good camera. That is close to DSLR quality for around, let's see what the Elgato Facecam is going for right now. How much is that? Oh wow, that Facecam Mark II is under $200. Let me see. See what they got for cameras. They have something. The Facecam Pro. That's the big one. Yeah. Facecam Pro. That's $300. That's pretty close to DSLR quality for $300 without having to worry about lenses and batteries and all that other crap. They didn't have that when I got this. If they did, I probably would have gotten this, but I like having the flexibility of the DSLR, so. All right. Last question for this week. It's from Nick. Hey, Nash and Mike, I started to notice some weird behavior on my system while I was gaming, and the temperatures seemed like they were getting way too high, mid-80s on an RTX 3060. I opened it up to clean it out and left it that way, and I noticed something really weird. The fans on the GPU stop running when it gets really hot. I know about the 0 RPM mode when the GPU isn't doing anything, but this is when it's doing a whole bunch. I cleaned it out with compressed air, but there's been no change. Any ideas?
My first thought is, how some fan software has a curve where you can manually set at this temperature I want this speed, etc.
Yeah.
Is that something maybe something else has gone in there and corrupted that file, that says what the settings are, and it says that, oh yeah, max temperature dropped to nothing. It will absolutely, that software will absolutely let you do that.
Yeah, you don't mention if you're
shouldn't.
Yeah, you don't mention if you're using that. Typically, with when you install the stuff from whatever video card's website and you install their software, it include the gaming stuff includes some sort of gaming software that allows you to adjust that stuff. Most of them aren't very good. One of them that's kind of everybody kind of uses, because even though it's from MSI, it works on all video cards, most all of them. It's called MSI Afterburner. What you should do is download MSI Afterburner. Make sure you're downloading it from MSI's website, because there have been
some issues.
There have been people pretending to be Afterburner. So get it from MSI's website. That is some very robust software that will, it's broad and it's granular. So it can be as easy or as complicated as you want to make it, but it will allow you to change your fan curve. And if that's all it takes, you probably just have a glitch or something wrong with the software for that fan. And that probably should straighten it out. The fans start running again. If software doesn't take care of it, Kitty in the kitty tower. Yeah, there's Charlie. He's right there. If software doesn't take care of it, then your other option. See, that I would say it was a bad fan, but you say it's all the fans. That's what's making me go, something's weird there. Here's another thing you can try to rule out the fans. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, let's see if I can find the adapter here you need. Wrong way. I need it the other way. Yeah, so you can plug a different fan into the car. We don't want to plug into the car. We want to plug into the motherboard. GPU fan adapter. Yeah, they've got it the wrong way. I need it the other way. The other way. Here we go. Here's one of the that's on eBay. Well, I can at least show you what you're looking for. It's not expensive either. It's like $6 six butts. All right. Here's what you're looking for. Put it on the screen here. This is a generic GPU style fan header to your motherboard fan header. What this will do is it will take the graphics card out of the equation. So if you tried to use the software to change it and it's still screwing up, disconnect. There should be a cable on your graphics card that plugs into it. And depending, you don't give us a make on the graphics card, so you're gonna have to maybe look it up. If you can unplug that cable, that's what's connected to the fans. Plug it into this, and then plug it into a spare fan header on your motherboard. That will allow those. You'll see if the fans behave differently there. If you can use and you'll have to look for the software for your motherboard to control the fans. It's whatever your motherboard has. You'll have to look on their website. There's fan software for that. And then you can change the fan speed on those GPU fans using the motherboard. Some people actually do prefer to do this. So they can limit the amount of fucking software they have to fucking deal with. It's not a regular thing, though. Some people are just fine with Afterburner or something. In any event, you could use this to rule out if your fans are actually screwed up or if the card has some weird glitch with it. And if the card has some weird glitch with it, it's a 3080. Oof. How far back is that? That's probably well out of warranty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because those things only have 1 or 2 years on it. Crap.
If that.
You might have to RMA it, and that's however much they're going to charge you to repair it. Unfortunately. But That's way down the line. The first step thing you want to start with is, Raritor points out that if you also want to download my MSI Afterburner, Guru 3D is a website that has it as well. They are official. Those are the two official places you can get it from. MSI's website and Guru 3D. Do not download MSI Afterburner from any other site. So just those two sites are the only official places to get the releases for Afterburner. So yeah, get Afterburner and start from that point. It might just be whatever software that came with your GPU or whatever from the manufacturer. It's just it's goofy and it's doing something stupid. MSI Afterburner, it's a really good software. And it also allows you, if you want to get a little daring with it, it's really easy to overclock. It's got an automatic overclock detection in it that can give you a little bit more boost. Not a great bit, but a little more frames out of your GPU. Why the hell not? But first, see if you get the fans working right. All right. I'm going to double check one more time, but I think that's everything for this week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to do it. We'll be back next week, hopefully at the regular 9 p.m. Eastern. Fuck you, Asus. Fuck these fucking motherboards. I wish I'd bought a gigabyte. I wish I'd bought a fucking gigabyte. Ugh! Anyway. God damn it. We'll be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you have tech questions for me and Mike, send those to requests@radiodeadair.com, or you can always put them in the comments for the YouTube. We'll answer them from there as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time. Night.